Cool.
Okay.
So we're doing equip only stuff.
Yeah. Oh wait, I need to log my character. Should I? What should I do? Should I share my screen or?
Well, I got the screenshots. The
Right.
main thing
Okay.
is going to be that so it's going to be limited to the equips, but yeah, we'll have some questions a little bit on how the other stats are placed. But
Okay.
we'll have to have a little bit of conversation first on like the foundations and seeing like how far you're aware already of like where all the stats come from, how to check if you are on the right path and if you're strong, because equips are definitely a huge part of, well, yeah, a really big part of how strong you are, but they're
Yeah.
not necessarily the biggest part, right? There's a lot of
It's the thing with me. It feels like I'm spending the stuff I earn on the wrong things. So.
right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Early on, especially, is you're kind of starved for Meso, of course, right? You're not just getting billions and billions,
Yeah.
and it's important not only to know where to spend it, but also when to spend it. Those are
Yeah.
two important things. So we can definitely zoom in on that a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Because it feels like I've been grinding like for so long now.
Mm-hmm.
I earned so. I could have earned so much more than what I've earned now. You know.
And
That's why I try to do this coaching thing so I understand better.
okay. Yeah, so one of the big things about, I guess, if we go into, well, for a little bit of a background first, what class are you? Can I see your secondary somewhere, and then I can know you are
I'm
a
a hero.
paladin? Oh, hero. Damn, wrong color for
I
the
u-
secondary.
I used to be a paladin, but I swapped like recently.
Okay, and you're liking it more?
Yeah, hero is fun, like more fun. Like paladin was fun,
Mm-hmm.
but like it feels like when now I don't know hero that well, so I kind of fuck up during the bosses. Also, my equips are worse. My weapon is worse and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels stronger. It's more fun with with the farming. In my opinion.
Sure. Okay.
In hero. Yeah.
So a good move for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And,
far, so good.
okay, so far so good. And what level are you right now?
231.
Okay. Let me put a. Because otherwise people get mad that I don't have timestamps in the video. 231 and okay. And you're able to train on monsters around your level quite well, I assume.
Yeah. I train at right now. I train at lower path 1. That's like 237.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, with like cooldowns, I one shot the mobs, but otherwise 2-shot. So it's decent farming. Yeah.
So you're working on leveling up your burning soul blade so that you can have full uptime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, got like soul blade, Valhalla, soul blade.
Right now I'm
Instinctual.
farming with raging blow,
Mm-hmm.
but I know I should be farming with punctured. So
I guess it depends on the map layout, right? Whether
it's true. True.
Some maps probably just like flash jumping raging blow is fine. And then some maps, if the platforms are a little bit further away, if puncture can reach it, then you want to use puncture instead.
Yeah.
So it'll depend a little bit on that. So that's one of the metrics. So okay, I'm trying to see how we can where we can start to get into the thing. 'Cause usually I have a big build up for like the longer sessions, and we go through a bunch of stuff. How familiar are you with my stream and my sessions and my commands and everything?
I've been like watching you like for a long time, but I haven't like consistently watching you. So because I've been taking breaks from MapleStory as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
But like I've known who you are for a long time. So, but I don't like see what you really do. Or like. Yeah.
But you haven't like gone to some of the commands yet to kind of like check those out. You just see a video
really.
or a stream sometime.
No, not really. Not too much.
Okay, so because when it comes to like how strong you are, you can't really look at your damage range, right? You've probably noticed that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're hero, once you buff up, your range is like 5 times
Yeah.
what it is when you're standing still. All of the
Yep,
final
yep.
damage. Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, if the range goes up, your damage and nothing else changes, then your damage also goes up. But
Yep.
the problem is, if other things change, does it mean that the total is now higher or lower? Or that's really hard to be able to tell,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So for that, I made the progression grid where you can kind of keep track of whether you are in general progressing forward and whether you are strong enough to do the content that's around your level, and what you are, you know, kind of expected to do to be able to kill the monsters, kill the bosses, go to the next level. So
Okay.
basically I've put it in stages because, you know, people talk about early game and mid game, and it seemed like everyone had a different definition for that. So I tried to make it so that there is actually something on paper. I'm not saying that this is, you know, how it is, but this is what I use so that when I say mid game or when I say late game, this is what I'm talking about. And I've also connected those to the dailies command, which is basically dailies, weeklies, any stuff that you can do that either gives you access to gear or get access to stuff in the game that will help you move forward. So equips, you know, symbols, you know, all of that stuff is all in here. So this kind of implies, and this is distributed in the same way, you know, early, mid game, late, so that the level here is kind of the predictor as the main metric of what you can do. Because in Reboot we also have level reduction, right, based on level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really big. So I think it's important that your level becomes the number that you look at instead of damage range. But in order to do that, you need to hit these other metrics or be in the ballpark, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in order to get there, there's two main things, and one is, you know, knowing what is the access to these stats and where you can get them. So for a lot of these, I've made sub commands where there's like a command for critical rate, there's a command for critical damage, there's one for IED, there's one where I basically explain the concept, because IED, for example, can be a little bit complicated for newcomers on how it works. And then also a list of like sources, where can you get IED, and what are the cheap sources and what are the more expensive sources. So that introduce opportunity cost. Are you familiar with opportunity cost, what that is?
No, I have no clue. I have never heard that before.
I mean, it's basically used in international trade, but let's say that if you could give one person $5 and they give you 2 oranges, and you go to another person that you give them $5, they give you 3 oranges, now there's an opportunity cost to what you're buying.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting the same thing in return, right? That's like a very, you know, base understanding. But when it comes to IED, like if you're getting a line of IED for 30% on your secondary, where it could also be boss damage or attack, that's a more expensive line. If you get it on your familiars and you couldn't really get anything else there, you know, you could get like 5 stat or something, right? And the opportunity cost there is very low, so that's where you would want to get the IED. So that's how I kind of distinguish between where would you want to look for the sources, and rather than just get them, because then, you know, that really doesn't give you any good purpose, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I try to individually match all of these. And of course you have the 3 main ways of like upgrading your equips, which is Star Forcing, Flaming, and Cubing, which have different balances to them. And also this is where the timing comes in, and like how far do you push them. And that has to do with the general gear progression in terms of how much of a total amount of your damage can they improve. And at the same time, how long are you going to be holding on to them, right? And then to a lesser extent, how much of their value potentially can you transfer to the next thing. Those things go all go into how far do you push a specific item when you have it. But this could be connected to, like, do you have access, like, do you do carries, or are you going to do completely solo progression, or anything in between? That also determines how long you hold on to something, right?
Yeah, I won't probably be doing too many carries right now, though. So.
So that's kind of how all of this is connected. So the main thing that we'll do is, you know, kind of get a baseline, which we did for like what kind of stuff you're doing, and how far you are in the game. And then basically you look at whereabouts you are in the game. So you, at least according to my grade, you're going towards the end of mid-game, right? So then we look at all the metrics and see if you are close to these numbers. if you are very far off of one of these, that means that there's a lot of gains that you can make there relative to how much time it takes. So
I
if you
think
want to get stronger,
yeah, I think I'm higher level than my damage is supposed to be. If you get what I mean, like
mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to be stronger in my level. It feels like.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit. This is considering that you're not like a burn character, right? So I don't know if you were a hyper burn or not.
No, I didn't do the hyper burn on this character. I did the burn earlier to 200. I did hyper burn, but I hyper burned a shadower, which after I hyper burned it, I leveled it to 16, and then I took a break because I got like a lot of things. I had like a lot of things to do, so I stopped playing. You know, I couldn't handle it. Yeah. So
yeah, things come up. Yeah, so with any burning comes a lesser value of representation of your level because you're like artificially leveling faster, right? So it's a bit tricky to look at this. Well, for regular burning, it's probably okay, but for like Terra a little bit less, and for hyper even less, because then, you know, you could be like 250 with like 10k stat or something if you just roll your face on your keyboard and you get a lot of artificial nodes and everything, right, from an event. Events can definitely mess it up a little bit. But it's like a general, that's why there's pretty wide margins, because it's not like you have to have this number, otherwise you can't do anything, but it's more like if you're very far away from it, then probably pushing there will be more efficient than pushing on something else. Like if you already have 6k Legion or something, then but only 100 Star Force, then you need to be working on your Star Force, because you will get way more value from Star Force for your time spent than if you put more into Legion, basically.
Yeah, but Legion is something I'm pretty low. I think I'm lower than I suppose. I'm 2.6k Legion, so maybe that's something I should work on. Or like especially now when there's a Rock Spirit event where I can level my mules.
Yeah, I like to give the advice of just doing a little bit of both all the time, not be like 100% only your main or 100% only Legion. Always try to get those easy levels, because you're probably still in the stage where you can make new characters to level 60 and their full 60 levels will count, right? You don't have 42 characters yet?
42 characters. I don't have 42 characters, no.
So up to 42, all of their levels will count as soon as they hit level 60. So just a new level 60 character will be just 60 Legion levels. So if you can make 20 more characters, that's 1,200 levels that you can get very easily on low level characters.
I thought I had to assign them.
So Legion. Yeah, so there's a few things there. So your Legion level is your characters that are at least level 60 or have done the second job advancement, or in case of a 0 are level 130 and have finished chapter 2. And then with all of those characters, the top 42 characters count for your Legion level. And then your Legion rank is based on your Legion level and whether you paid the coins to rank it up. And the rank will determine how many characters you can put on the board. And then the characters on the board will determine which characters on the board will activate their member bonus. And then where you put the pieces will activate your grid bonus. Yeah. And their individual Legion raid power will add up, and that'll determine your passive income for coins. Yeah. So that's how all that works.
Yeah. So yeah. But
so at the beginning, if you want to build up your Legion, it's just mass-produce characters. Just make one of everything, get it level 60, go on to the next one. And if you get to 42 characters, then you can circle back, activate. Maybe you go to 70, so you also get the level 1 link skill, right? So that way you can get them a little bit stronger. And then get to 100, you can do a bunch of Zakums there, or actually train it, depending on if you like the character or not. But you can very quickly, like that, get to 6k Legion by just getting one of each class to level 140, which now sounds crazy probably compared to where you are. But as long as you steadily work on that, it'll be very doable.
Yeah, I have like 20 characters right now, so I could probably do 20 more.
Yeah, exactly. So even level 70, that would be 1.4k Legion extra, right? And then you're at the 4k that you, right? You go from 2.6 to 4, boom, you're done. Yeah. Or not done, but that's very solid foundation, because now you expand your grid. Now you get into critical rate, critical damage, IED and boss damage for bossing. And you could put way more characters on the board starting at 3k, and then at 6k again, a lot of characters on the board. So, or at 5.5, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So that's one aspect for the Legion level. If we're talking specifically about the equips, a lot of it has to do with the progression of where you're moving from one set of equips to the next. So you're playing more sporadically, right?
Radically, like
Like you might play for a month and then not for a while, and then play like another month or two. And
yeah. Last time I got stuck like a few months, and I was like, yeah, this is I got, because like I actually thought Paladin was fun, or like the new warrior class was fun overall. Like the Destiny update was like so fun in my opinion, because that is like the update where I got stuck like the longest I ever got to the game. And
like before Destiny, you mean that you?
Yeah, like before that I used to, like as you said, like take long breaks between playing. And after the Destiny update, I started playing, and I never stopped for a long while until Ignition hit. And
Stuck in a good way, like stuck around.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, but yes, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a comeback. We'll see. Right now, I just want to understand the game better. That's why I do this coaching session. I just want to understand it better. So when I come back, I know what to do. You know what I mean?
Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about, I guess, is like when to spend on stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're talking, well, to put it into the context again of what we talked about first, right? Like with flames, with Starforce, and with cubing. Very early on, you're focusing primarily. The first thing you focus on is Starforcing, right? Just getting up to 10. That's almost no money, but that's very easy gains, no risk, right? Decent reward. Then it very quickly goes into working on the potential, because you get epic potentials on some stuff, you get rare potentials, you want to, and you get a lot of mystical cubes, right? The old occult cubes, so you want to roll, you get 3% very easily, you get some 6% here and there. And then you very quickly go to the what we call the WSE, so the weapon secondary emblem. Because that's where percentage attack comes from, and also boss and IED. So that's what you push further, typically to unique pretty quickly, depending on the type of secondary and weapon you use. So as a paladin, as a hero, you have some options, right, with one-handed, two-handed, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can go into that a little bit.
I heard the axe is supposed to be better than sword. I don't know.
Yeah, so axe has a little bit higher of a damage output. Ultimately, the upside of sword is that if you switch to paladin, you can keep using it, and you don't have to remake your weapon. You'll still have to remake your secondary, of course.
I'm switching back now. So.
Yeah. The main thing with one-handed or two-handed, because that's also a thing. The main thing with one-handed and two-handed has to do with your inner ability. So early on, it's very valuable to have your inner ability is a huge buff to making money, because the thing you do right after typically getting the weapon secondary and emblem up to unique or up to legendary is you start working on your accessories potential to try to get Meso obtain and drop rate built up.
I heard of that. Yeah.
So that's what's called the drop rate gear, and that's very important as a solid foundation, so that when you're training, you can make a lot of money, and when you're bossing, you can have a higher chance of drops, so that you can smoothen out your progression upwards, and you don't somehow, like, sometimes get stuck for months or a year on trying to get a specific drop. There's always, other stuff you can be working on, but it will feel really bad if you're working on, like, 21-star CRA and have never seen a Dominator Pendant yet. Like, feels kind of bad.
But is that something I should start working at, like, immediately when I start cubing, or?
Well, so
is that the first thing I should focus on?
Yeah. So if I were to look at your stuff now, I would. So here's like a stage, for example, like an example that I think is totally fine. So let's say that you have a Fafnir weapon, and all your stuff is below 15 stars. You have your WSE is either unique with like 2 good unique lines, or legendary with like 1.5 to 2 good lines. And then you start working on your accessories to try to get 1 at a time up to legendary and get drop and Meso on them. That's the situation. Now I see that you have already spent a little bit more when it comes to star forcing, and what happens is you are getting you're dipping your toes into the lesser efficient thing. Like, it's efficient to get to 17 stars, but it's not efficient yet to go up to 15, because from 11 to 15 is very expensive compared to what you get for it. You're basically paying the entry fee of the 15 plus, because that's when it gets really efficient, right? 15 to 17, you get all that weapon attack. That's when it's really good. But
So
up to 15, you're wasting your money there. And it's better to spend that money first on the accessories to make more money, because you need more time anyway when you're killing the bosses to get more backups.
Yep.
So you're filling that time that you're waiting for backups anyway, because if you get backups, you don't have to safeguard, right? And if you don't have to safeguard, you save a lot of money.
So I should save a few rings I get, like silver bottom link from Horntail, and like stuff like that, so I can replace it.
Yeah. So the thing is, when you're looking at drop and meso gear, you almost want to make like kind of the weaker gear your drop and meso gear, because the main thing is that it has drop or meso. You don't want to rely for damage on your accessories. You want to rely on your weapon, your secondary, your emblem, and then you want to rely on your arcane symbols that coming up, right, and giving you final damage in the area. You want to rely on your nodes, and then you want to rely on everything else, like your Legion and your Links and everything else a little bit. But your accessories, you actually want to take the pressure off, because if you invest into your accessories early on and get them to unique, maybe get like 12, 15%, if you get used to that damage, now it's going to feel like a downgrade if you switch to get them drop in meso, which you want to do, because then suddenly you lost like how strong your character is, right? You losing the stat there. So you typically want to make the jump from epic right up to legendary, because it's very easy to get 6 or 9% on a drop or meso piece, and then you stay equal in total damage from it. You don't go down.
Yeah. Got you.
Yeah, and then that gives you time while you're building that out. You're spending your money. You don't really have anything to spend on anyway. That gives you time. You keep doing your weekly bosses. You're at that point, your weekly boss might be getting a little bit harder, because they're not getting easier, at least from the accessories part, right? But they should be getting easier because of extra stat from arcane power, and if you from doing your symbol dailies, and from nodes that you're getting while you're training. And you should be getting more nodes because you're also getting drop rate from your accessories. So it should speed up that process, basically.
Another question. My offhand.
Yeah, because that's what we were talking about, right? We were talking about it's all connected. So we we're talking about freeing up your inner ability. Because if you're going two-handed early on, that means that to get your max attack speed, you need the inner ability plus 1 attack speed. To hit that. So ideally, early on, when your weapon is still kind of switching quickly and you're not really trying to min-max for endgame and anything like that, it's okay to take the one-handed weapon. You're not losing much damage there, but you're gaining the extra rank of attack speed. And that allows your inner ability to be either meso obtain or drop rate. So drop rate would allow you to get more nodes and more drops, and meso obtain would allow you to make more money, because the total amount of sources of drop and meso early on is pretty limited. So getting another line from your inner ability is actually highly valuable. So that's why it's okay to be one-handed early on. You're already like two-handed; it's already unique, and with like a decent flame. So I'm not going to tell you to switch it now, but that's why some people would do that, because it frees up the inner ability. And then once you're switching up, long-term Abzo or maybe even Arcane, that also, again, just like with needing backups, that gives you time to build up honor experience and then wait for an event, like a honor 50% off. And then during that event, you can make the switch from having like more of a training inner ability to more of a bossing inner ability.
Okay, so people uses events as the time to like switch around because of the earnings you can get from events.
Yeah, and I like to see events not as crutches or as things that are like holding you back, like I can't do it because there's no event, but more like you need time anyway to gather up resources. So if there's no event, you can have peace of mind of like, okay, I can just work on my regular thing. I don't have to worry about like, when do I need to switch? It's only when an event comes up that you can look at, okay, what is my situation? What is my expected cost? Do I have the resources? And if you don't, then you can skip the event. But if you do, then the event is the best time to commit to it. So just like with the inner ability off event, there's also the Star Force events. And it's a good idea to look at either the patch notes or I keep a calendar as well with the Sunny Sundays under events. And then you can see what Sunny Sunday events are coming up. And based on which ones are coming up, you can look at your account and see like, okay, let's say there's a 30% off event for Star Forcing coming up. That's best to get up to 15 stars. That's where you save the most money. So typically, when would you do that? Typically, after your drop rate and meso gear is done, and when you have backups so that you can send to 15 without needing to safeguard. So, for example, that's usually the first things you do is CRA, right? You get that up to 15, and you don't have to safeguard. So, there's an event. Let's say there's an event in 2 weeks. You look at, okay, how much money do I have? Okay, I have 2 bill. Oh, but I'm still working on drop or meso gear. Okay, I don't have to yet. Finish a drop in meso gear first. I can skip this 30% off. Let's say that you have the drop in meso gear and you have like 5 bill, but you have no backups. Okay, I can't do it. Like, I could safeguard and cost a lot of extra money, but it's only 12 to 15. Doesn't give me any money, right? Until like a 5, 10, 15 comes up. Maybe there's also a 5, 10, 15 like the week after that. Now maybe it does become worth it, right? Maybe to safeguard because the events are together. So based on the spacing and when the events are and how much money you have, you could make certain less than ideal decisions, or you can just play and wait. Because what can you do in the same time with your money to invest to make yourself more money if there's no event for your character? You could also start working on boss meals, right? You can start funding a little bit another character, maybe the Shadower if you like it. Then be like, okay, maybe I can get him to kill CRA on a weekly basis, and that can increase your weekly income.
I have a pretty decent Buccaneer as well. It's like 220, and he can. He's almost able to solo CRAs right now, like hard CRA.
Yep.
So. And I have the Shadow as well, but the Shadow is pretty weak because it doesn't have any Fafnir. But I should do a trade maybe. Like
you could do trade. If the other person does a little bit of damage, then you're basically like duo for duo kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I could also do that, but when it comes to the one-handed thing, could I actually switch this out and do my weapon right now into a boss weapon, and then work on creating a one-handed weapon for mobbing, and then get a shield maybe, and have like and then I can switch out the inner abilities? Or what do you think about that?
There are definitely situations where you could make multiples and switch out for situations, but early on I would not advise to do that, because it's a very much so there's like upgrading, and there's what I call sideways upgrading, where you're basically spending way more money disproportionately to technically maybe make an upgrade, but it's not as functional or valuable as that amount of money spent in another place could be. So early on, just because of access to 5th job, you're getting a lot of damage, and the question is really, is it going to make a significant difference in monster kills and in gains, and in also bossing, compared to how much money it's going to cost you versus the opportunity cost, again, right, of spending that money in another place, and how much that's going to return for you. I think the main thing you want to do for your account is, we'll check through all the pieces specifically, but it's probably making sure that the WSE has like decent lines for where it is. Like if you're going to tier up, and that's like another rule, I guess, for upgrading. If you're going to tier up to a certain rarity, I think you have to get the quality of the potential to a certain level. Otherwise, it's not worth having tiered up to that thing in the first place, because tiering up is prohibitively expensive. So if you're going to go up to unique, I would pretty much always try to go at least for like 1.5 lines. So like a full line and an all set line, for example, like a 12% something. Otherwise, I would just stay epic, you know? And if you're going to go to legendary, I would at least take 2 full useful lines. Otherwise, I would just stay unique. That's kind of like my rule of thumb for tiering up. The other thing for tiering up has to do with transfer hammer. Do you know how transfer hammer works specifically?
Transfer hammer, if I wanna like transfer my stats into another equipment, basically.
Yeah, because we don't have trade like in non-reboot, right? So one of the major ways that we can gauge like how far should I push on this item is, like I said before, you know, like how long are you going to keep it, or to which extent can the value that you invest be transferred to the next thing. And then that way you can give yourself a little bit more leeway in pushing an item further, so that because you know that value isn't all going to be lost when the next item comes around and then just sitting in your inventory or having to extract it, because that'll feel really bad, right?
Yeah, and that's where tricksters and Fafnir weapons is really good, because you can like push them really high and then have another weapon, and you can just if it fails or something, you can just transfer the stats to to the old or to the other Fafnir weapon, you know.
Yeah, what you're talking about now is tracing, right? In case it booms.
Yeah.
That's why we don't have
Yeah.
the safeguard. That's why you get backups,
Yeah.
so that the
I mean,
trace
I'm not
saves all
close.
the stats. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even close to that.
No, that's fine.
Game, but, yeah.
That's fine. And then transfer hammering would be into levels of items of higher level. And that's why you're saying Fafnir, because you could transfer hammer it into Absolab, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you transfer hammer, the stars get transferred -1. So you always want to look at what is the outcome going to be, right? You wouldn't want to, at least now before Savior, you wouldn't want to transfer at 15 because then your Abso comes out as 14 and then can drop back down to 10, right? So you want to do it at like 16 or, you know, at 21 so that when it drops, it goes down to a safe spot like, because like 5, 10, 15, 20, those are safe spots, right? It can drop below there. So that's something you always want to think of when you're transfer hammering. The thing with the flame with transfer hammer does not get transferred, so the flame on the target item is saved.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's no point in trying to get like a really, really good flame on an item that you're going to transfer hammer later because that'll get lost. But you could, if you get really good flames and you're working on Abso or you're getting Abso pieces, you could already pre-flame it because it won't get overwritten either when you transfer hammer it. So you don't have to let those flames go to waste. You can put them to good use for, you know, permanent or near permanent, I guess, later usage. And then the third thing, the potential lines, the type of lines that they are will get transferred over, but the highest rarity will only be up to epic. So if it's rare, it'll say rare. If it's epic, it'll say epic. But if it's unique or legendary, it'll go down to epic equivalent lines.
Yeah.
So
but right now,
that means, you know, but tiering up past epic is usually not advised, but star forcing past, you know, past like 10 or 12 could be advised if you have the money and if it's the right time for you to do, because most of that will get transferred over, and then the Abso piece that you have will immediately be able to be taken into use.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotten more into Abso now. I started earning more coins. And,
I saw that,
but the next Abso thing, like I can get one more coin and I'm able to buy something. I have 3 coins then. But should I just save for a weapon or should I get like a back or shoes?
I think at this point you probably save for a weapon, yeah. Because your money's gonna go into having to redo the weapon potential, right? And wanting to get a nice flame.
But as you said, the first thing I should focus on getting into legendary is the rings, like accessories.
Accessories, yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I would look at so again, you want to look at if something is already the tier where you want it, then you want to make sure that it's capitalizing on that tier, has good lines.
Yeah.
And then you want to work on the next piece. Because you were asking about the secondary, right, a little bit ago, because of the weapon and everything. I think because of the investment you already have, what is your inner right now? Is it attack speed or is it something else?
Yeah, it's at attack speed, and then it's meso gain and item drop.
Oh, like 2 epic lines?
No, the item drop is it's rare.
Okay, so it's like 8% and 3%, something like that?
8% and 5%.
Oh, close enough. Okay, then I would say don't change anything about that. Just save up honor experience, and then you wait like once you get to like an arcane weapon or something, then you can start thinking about switching stuff around. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you'll need to use like circulators for money first. That cost 18 mil each to try to get a unique critical rate or damage debuffed or boss damage. Or maybe item drop line, and then lock that, and then re-roll your attack speed. So you're probably gonna look at like probably 3 to 4 million honor before you make that switch.
Yeah, but so like on my main,
long term,
I should mostly focus on making him as strong as possible when it comes to farming.
You want to be able to comfortably move around the map and kill, especially with the hero, without having to like, you know, jump attack and then jump back attack again and then jump again, like, because then you're going the wrong way, right? Or like in place having to multiple attack. Yeah, ideally. So you're most likely going to go to maps where you can full map clear, meaning kill all the monsters in the maps within 7 seconds, and then being able to do that consistently, right? So one of the things that you want to focus on, at least for your V matrix, is make sure that your Burning Soul Blade, maybe your Burning Soul Blade is level to where you can cycle between the skills, right? You probably want to start equipping your Urda Fountain if you don't have that one yet, because that's a
Urda
summon.
Fountain.
Yeah, it looks like Urda Shower / Fountain, and if you activate it with the down arrow, it'll put a summon down that has a pretty big hitbox around it, and every time you kill 10 monsters, it'll explode and kill monsters around it. So between your Burning Soulblade and that one, you can go to like mid-sized to maybe even slightly larger maps, and then if you position them properly, they will be killing part of the map. Your Burning Soulblade will be killing monsters that will trigger your fountain, and then you going around the map will also trigger the fountain to kill another part of the map, and that way you can go to slightly bigger maps and full map clear them and get good rates. And the downside, of course, with a much bigger map is looting, right? If you have a vac pet, it's very easy. If you don't have a vac pet, it's going to be a combination with putting down the summons and then hoping that they kind of keep the map clear going while you're kind of moving out of the way to go loot. But early on, you can't really, beggars can be choosers there. You just, if you see all that money on the ground, you got to have it, right? Otherwise, all that meso obtain and drop rate isn't very useful if you're not going to take the money that comes with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'll lose a little bit in looting probably. Some other classes can throw like really big AoEs around, or they'll have easier time doing that. But
like Loomies or something.
Yeah, they can put the giant door down, for example, that covers like 2/3 of the map, and then go looting, or Kanas can put domain down, or stuff like that. Map clear, talking about killing, interoperability. So you were asking about the secondary. So I would probably work on the secondary in the short term to get better lines on there, because right now from mobbing, it's doing pretty close to nothing.
Zero.
And if we are going to take stats away, at least a little bit from your accessories, we want you to not get weaker, so we want the secondary first to be stronger.
So at least like 2 lines attack, at least.
Most likely, That's going to be the goal. That can be expensive though, because secondaries has decent variance. So if you get like attack and boss damage, you could also already just end with that and then see how that goes, and then work on the secondary, work on the accessories, and then maybe circle back if if it does turn out that you need a little bit more damage. But I'd say at least 2 useful lines.
My old secondary for my paladin had 60% boss damage and 9% strength, but I couldn't transfer it to this one.
Because it's just a completely different item. It only counts for it's paladin exclusive, and this one is hero. Like here it says hero only, and the other one says paladin only.
Okay, got you. So the secondary is something I should focus on. Maybe like take a break from the weapon a bit, I guess. Because
it's going to go into Abzo, which means the potential is going to go down, right? So there's no point in like pushing this. And you were, when you say break, you were working on the Star Force now, or?
Star Force, I started working a bit on the Star Force. I got it to 14 stars, as you see, but got my money from my Meso ran out, so I just took a break from it. But I thinking of actually started working on the rings and neck maybe.
So to get back to like the overarching like general progress thing, so we were in the situation, quote unquote, like the hypothetical, right, where everything is like 10 to 12 stars. Flaming wise, you're really only looking at your weapon for flames. Everything else is just, you have a flame, you look at what item has flame advantage and has a shitty flame on it, and then you just kind of throw it on there to steadily bring them up. Do you know about flame advantage and the difference there?
Flame advantage? No, not really. No.
So some items just inherently, just depending on the name of the item, have flame advantage or not. Most of the items without flame advantage are not found in Korea.
So like Hilla.
So the Necro Gear is, but like the rock, for example, the rock from Hilla, that the Stone of Eternal Life, the pocket item, that one is not. You can see very shitty lines on there, right? Yeah, but if you compare it to the Pink Holy Cup, those are big numbers, and it's always 4 numbers. Well, there's like a little bit of an exception, but you can double check with the flame video. But basically, there's a list of all the items if you want to see that. But again, here that's fine. The progression, you have the flame score here, divided between the weapons, because it works with the tiers of weapon attack, and all different weapons have all different weapon attacks because it goes by percentage of the base of the weapon. So it would be like anywhere from like 50 to like 400. So it wouldn't really make much sense for different different weapon types. And then there's for flame advantage, and then for flame disadvantage. But basically, until you get like it closer to like the 260s or something, you don't really worry about the flame of non-advantage items whatsoever. So that's mostly Sweetwater and Golic stuff.
Yeah.
And the advantage early on is basically the cup, CRA, and Abzo stuff. That's essentially what you're worrying about the flames on. So you can see the flame score that you're looking for, but based on the quality, based on the level of the item, the same quality can be slightly higher number. So once you're getting closer to the end of the mid, this is like for Abzo, and this is more for CRA, right? So the bigger number. Yep. And you can see the gap growing even more because this is when you start getting arcane gear. And that's level, this is like the cup, right? Level 140. And this is the arcane gear at level 200. For the flame score, you can also use the flame command. It's got like a calculator there where you can put the numbers in and you can see what flame score you are. So I would see once your weapon has an okay flame, so anything close to this, you can also calculate the tiers for the weapon in the calculator. It's all there. Then you can start moving towards the other items, and then you can see, okay, like what value flame does an item have. So for example, your weapon, you can see the base is 171. Which is already in here. So you can see tier 5 would be 42, tier 6 would be 55, and you have a 55, so you see that's a tier 6. So you can already see like you're at a tier 6 or tier 5 plus, so you're already at this stage, so you're good. So you don't have to worry about the weapon flame right now until you get to Abzo, right? Once you get to Abzo, you can, I don't know what the base is, but you can do this one, and then the base is probably like, I don't know, like 210 or something. So you're probably looking for, either this one or this one. And then once you have that one, you reprioritize where your flames go. But flames, it's mostly events and very rarely from a boss. So that's just kind of like a side thing. So when it comes to the cubing, I would get a better line on the secondary and then start working on your accessories one at a time. And I would start working on the ones that have the highest tier because that's the closest to starting generating money for you, right? So
Eternal Flame Ring.
Yeah, Eternal Flame Ring and the Black Bee Mark most likely.
Yeah.
See if you can get one. As soon as you hit one item drop line or one meso line, just stop and move on to the next one. You can always circle back because what's most likely going to happen, and you can check this under ! drop rate, there's like a certain configuration that you're looking for because of how everything stacks. So ideally what you're looking for is 5 lines of meso obtain because you can get up to 100% from your equips, and 4 lines of drop rate because that way you have 100% chance of a bag of meso always dropping from a monster that you're killing.
Yeah. The Dominator pendant, that's an event pendant.
It's a fake one.
I should replace that. Yeah, I should replace that, right?
It'll probably become like a bossing pendant for a while. Probably together with the superior pendant. But for drop in meso, it'll have to be replaced. Most likely people replace it with a Mechanator because it's very easy to get and it does have flame advantage and it's part of the boss accessory set.
I have a pretty decent one actually.
And if you have one, you can, and so this is the other thing. Once you're still, you haven't finished working on a certain item, if you have, let's say you have a Mechanator right now and it has like 20 flame score or something, I wouldn't start investing in it because there's like, 8 other accessories that you can work on first, right? That means you have like another week or 2 probably of every day that you can run Arc, and before you need to start working on the pendant. So that gives you like 14 more Mechanator chances that can get a better flame for free. So that way, I want you to always like think like that because if there's no pressure right now, you want to give yourself the most opportunities to get free stats like that. Like with the condensed power crystal, you can also do that, but it has a 51 and 6, so you're probably not going to get a better one in the meantime.
Yeah, Arcarium is daily, right?
Yeah, when normal Arc is a very high value daily because of the chance for Dominators and for Primals, which later allow you to make Meister Rings.
It does actually give pretty decent gold. I mean meso, because it's
from the
daily
crystal.
and like
because it's daily. Yeah, and you're not at any kind of risk of like overflowing your 180 boss crystals a week, right? So you can easily just sell that daily. That won't be a problem until you're working on like 8 or 9 boss meals. Then you have to start thinking about which boss crystals do I sell and which ones do I not sell, or maybe even like 10 plus.
but like the lower tier bosses, is that
Mhm.
something I should do more often? Because I can't
Um,
kill them in chaos
yeah, I would say there's a
or hard.
few that I would value highly, and that's normal Arc because of the drops, normal Magnus because of the soul shards,
Yeah.
and then normal Queen and normal Vellum, also because of the soul shards. They drop double S tier soul shards, so that once you get an Abso weapon or later arcane weapon, you can use Magnificent Souls on it to get a good stats from that.
Oh, okay, okay.
But those would be the only dailies that I would say consider doing. Some people do Madman Remaru, but that's going to be up to you whether you have the time for that, honestly.
Yeah, got you.
And some people also like to do normal Pink Bean because of Black Bean Mark backups and maybe better cup and belt backups.
Yeah, yeah,
That's also an option. But yeah, it depends
yeah.
on how much time you want to spend during the day versus if you're going to be in the Legion build-up phase, that's probably more valuable to just mass produce some new characters, get access to all of the new link skills, that kind of stuff. That's probably more valuable for you than to work on backups too much because your money, like I said, is all going to go into the accessories.
Yeah,
and then,
my link seals are actually pretty decent. But right now I'm actually working on leveling I have 162 DH. DA. I mean DA. I want to level him to the third link, so I get 15%. I heard that's pretty smart. Like, I heard that 5% is gonna do a lot. Mostly end game, but
5% for what?
but damage. The Demon Avengers.
Oh,
link
yes.
skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're valuable. So when it comes to link skills in Legion, I have a command ! links.
Yeah.
I take the value basically of all of the characters and what you need in the game and what is already accessible.
Yep.
And I've got the different intervals for what it gets. So basically on the first column, it's got like my advice on which characters I would work on first and then which characters I would work on after that. So if you're ever wondering which character is good, you just start from the top, and if you see a class that you don't have yet, like if you make that one, then you can't go wrong basically.
So Phantom basically is your top priority.
Yeah, because of crit rate link, it's a lot of crit rate, and critical rate is the biggest foundation I think for damage because it allows you access to critical damage, which is a huge multiplier. And without hitting a crit, you don't hit any critical damage. So there's a lot of free damage there that you can pick up. So you'll see everything is crit here. Once you get all of these to like level 2 and the link skills and Legion, you can basically get every new character that you make immediately has like 80 to 100% crit rate. And then you get all the critical damage ones. And then basically once you're through with those, every new character is going to keep one-shotting and blowing up all the monsters way longer. And is going to level to up to 100 and up to 140 without any trouble. So it's going to, what I call like rolling the snowball down the hill, right? Once you start have a good solid foundation with critical rate and critical damage, and you just let the snowball go, and it's just going to end up in a giant Legion when it comes down the hill, basically.
Yeah. A good example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of link skills, but Phantom is something maybe I should get, like, especially now with the event. I can easily get him from 200 to 210.
Yeah, so when it comes to level 3 links, I would say that's mostly mostly for me, that's like when you're pushing from like 6 to 8k Legion. But if you already have one close, you know, you have a character close and you have some value that you could put on a character, I would definitely do that. But in general, for your whole account, you know, because when you get 200 to 210, that's 10 levels for your Legion. But if you get a character from 60 to 70, that's also 10 levels for your Legion, right? And that's, of course, way easier. And all the levels for your Legion are valuable now because every 500, you get to put an extra character on. Every 1,000, your grid expands. Every 2,500, you can put 5 extra characters on the board. And that's a lot of damage for all of your characters. And just like with transfer hammering, lets you get value up because we don't have trade. Because we don't have trade, you can't make like training gear for your characters, right? But you can fund all of your characters in your account by building your Legion and your links. That's how you fund everything.
Yeah. Okay, so like account-wide stuff.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why it's also prominently mentioned here and pretty high up in the Legion level, because it's not just the level. Like the level doesn't do anything for you, but it's the member bonuses and the grid bonus. Those will help you round out those base stats, those fundamental stats like critical rate, critical damage, boss damage, IED, and if you're mobbing monster damaged, damaged normal monsters and EXP, and those together with the link skills and together with your hyper stats will complement your character's stats, right? Like let's say a character that has a very high critical damage, usually they have pretty low critical rate, so that way if you can, you know, squeeze in a lot of critical rate from all of those sources and you get it to 100% critical rate, now all that critical damage comes in, does a lot. Some other character might have very low IED, but might have a lot of damage to bosses, so you need to build up that IED first by getting access to it and all of those other sources, and then all of that damage can be confirmed by having enough IED.
Yep, got you.
So to go back to the drop rate real quick, so you can use exclamation mark drop rate for all the explanation there. What's most likely going to happen is you're going to get either more than 4 lines of drop or more than 5 lines of meso, right? If you need to re-roll anything to switch it to the other stat, always try to re-roll something that doesn't also have strength or has the least amount of strength with it, right? So that you can lose the least amount of damage in the process. Hopefully by doing this, eventually you end up with these lines and at least like 6 or 7 lines of strength as well, right? So you have like 36 or like 40, 50%, hopefully up to there, strength with it, so that you lose the least amount of damage. And then it's going to be about waiting for backups, probably, and then looking at events, right? So 30% offs to get up to 15, or 5, 10, 15s to get past 15. Basically everything past 15 you want to do 5, 10, 15, because 15 to 16 is guaranteed and it just saves you so much money and no chance for booms there. The big thing for you is going to depend on how long does this take you, because in Savior star forcing is changing and there will be no more need for there will be no more booms under 15.
Oh, okay. I mean,
so this could also kind of be a blessing in disguise, just like waiting for an event, that you're waiting for an update, in the sense of you can start working on a lot of other stuff, you know, pre-make the Abzo, work on the flames there. Because in the past, one of the big advices that would be for Abzo is don't get your Abzo too strong too quickly, get level 150 fodder stuff, like from Ranmaru, that kind of thing, and then wait for a 30% off event, send it without safeguarding, be very cheap, then wait for a 5, 10, 15 event, and then get 16 guaranteed, transfer it to Abzo, go down to 15, but then get it to 16 again guaranteed, and then just safeguard the last star.
I can transfer those to Abzo.
If it's 10 levels below and it's the same type of item, you can transfer it. So if you find like a Ranmaru shoulder, for example, that's level 150, and you have a few of those, you can just send them without, you know, if you have the trace if it booms, and then usually up to 15. Yeah, so ideal situation is 30% off up to 15, no safeguard with backups. Then wait for a 5, 10, 15, tap it to 16, transfer it, tap it to 16 again, and then safeguard the last star. That saves you about 400 to 500 mil on the Abzo, compared to safeguarding the whole Abzo up to 17 during a 5, 10, 15. But that amount of saving is going to change in Savior when there's no more chance to boom below, because then it probably makes more sense to just, if you can, 30% off just the Abzo itself up to 15, and then wait for 5, 10, 15, and then just Abzo itself 15 to 17, and just not have to worry with fodder anymore, unless you're going like all the way 21 stars into 20. Then, you know, then you probably want to still do the foddering, because, you know, the amount of booms between 17 and 20 is quite insane. So the rarer the target item is, the more you would want to do that.
Yep. Yeah. Got you.
Yeah, and then you get the CRA and stuff to 17, other stuff to 17, the Abzo stuff. And then the main thing, you know, you look at the dailies command, a lot of the stuff that comes in there is the Golix stuff, right? Trying to get into superior Golix. Depending on your drops by then, you could say if you want the guaranteed drops, you could work on Commercy stuff, so you can get the Eye Phase Pendant stuff from there. If you are getting enough drops, or you really don't want to do that, you can also just wait until you get drops from other areas. So the Twilight Mark from Hard Lucid Hard Will, probably not going to drop from normal because it's too rare.
Yeah. But right now, how much do you, how much do you think I need until I can be able to solo Helix? Because somewhere it said that 15k stat should be good enough.
Well, if you want to know how strong you need to be for anything, you can look at the daily command. You can look at the boss here. So Hell Golix says here Hell starting at 240.
Oh yeah.
And then you can look at progression grid starting at 240. Boom.
Yeah,
and then now you can see how strong I would advise you to be for all of these metrics. So at least like the lower level number here around there.
Okay.
So if you see that there's still some things that you're very far away, invest more time there so you can get closer more efficiently. And if you're already over, so if there's something you really like doing, if it is grinding and you like getting a lot of levels, then don't like stop doing that. But just be aware that you're going to have to go, the further you go on there, the more you're going to lose efficiency compared to some other things, right? Like if you go down IED to like 80%, the amount of levels you need to do to make that up is probably like 200 levels. So that's not smart. It's better to just get a little bit more IED, and then a lot more damage is going to go through. Because I did mention IED, you said it is difficult. Do you understand IED?
IED, I kind of do, but it's kind of hard to understand still. Like I have 86%, but I'm supposed to have more. It's supposed to like boost your damage, but like it's not showing that it boosts your damage. It's kind of
it's
so weird.
Instead of boosting, you want to see it as reducing your damage reduction. So you know, just like the snowball, we're going to give a visual representation for this one, okay?
Yeah.
So IED, there's two things. So IED is ignore enemy defense. That is basically you play other video games, right? If I say armor penetration, you know what that means?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's basically exactly. So it's basically your armor pen. And what bosses have is called PDR, which is physical damage reduction. That's basically just boss armor, right? Yeah. So if you see you at one side and the boss standing on the other side facing each other, the distance between you is the PDR. So the further you're away, the more PDR the boss has. And your armor pen, every single individual source of armor pen that you get is basically you taking a step closer to the boss based on the percentage of the distance that's left between you.
Okay.
So let's say the boss has 400% armor, 400% PDR. Well, let's say 300% because most bosses around your level are going to be 300%. That's like the goal that we go to. And you get one source of 20% IED. In your stat window, you go from 0 to 20. It's just going to say you have 20% IED. But that means physically in the distance is that you traverse 20% of the distance of 300% armor. So that's 60. So now there's 240% armor between you. So the 240 armor means that your damage output is going to be reduced by 240% final damage. So you're just going to hit 1, right? Because it's more than 100% reduction. So as soon as you get to 66.66% IED, then you're going to be reducing 2/3 of the armor. As soon as you go a little bit over that, right, 66.67, now you're ignoring more than 2/3, so more than 200% of the 300%. So you're getting a little bit less than 100% final damage reduction. Now you're actually going to start doing damage, but you're going to start hitting like hundreds, which is still nothing, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get from so we already took a step of 20%, right? If you would add another 20%, you don't go to 40%, but you go 20% of the distance that's left. And the distance that's left is 80%. So you go 20 of 80% is 16%. So you go from 20 to 36%. So there's like reduced efficiency there, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
Because it's always of the remaining. So this is why Legion is so important, because Legion has a big block there for IED, which goes all the way up to 40. And if you can take 40% of anything, it's always better than taking 20% twice, right? Because the second 20% if it's on a smaller part, the big 40 is on the big total. So this is why big lines of IED, so either big familiar lines, huge Legion block, 30 or 35 or even 40% on your weapon, secondary, and emblem can actually be really important early on and be really valuable until you get into all the other sources that take longer, like a level 3 link skill, or, you know, getting higher level familiars might also take longer. That's why sometimes it'll be okay to temporarily take those, because if you take an easy example, let's say that you have 85% IED, for example, right? And you're attacking a boss with 300% armor, so you're losing 15% of 300% armor, so 45. You're only doing 55% of your final damage.
Yeah.
Right? So just over half of what you could be doing. Which means if you want to hold that IED, you almost need to do double the work, right? To get the same amount of damage increase on all the other things. So you're losing efficiency on all of your other money. just because one of your metrics is not where you want it to be. So if you were to add, let's say, a line of 30% on 85, 30% of the 15 missing is 4.5, so you go from 85 to 89.5. So let's round it up to 90 just to be a little bit easier, right? So then you lose 30% of your final damage. Now you do 70% of your final damage. So one line of 30% IED made you go from doing 55% of your final damage to 70% of your final damage, which is almost like 30% final damage more, right? Almost.
Yep.
So
huge.
This is so this is why IED is that important, because it makes all of your other work that you're putting into the game actually shine and makes it actually happen. And without that, it's just not working. This is why critical rate is so important, because all of the critical damage goes through. And this is why ID is so important on bossing, because it makes all of your other damage go through.
So it like unlocks your damage, kind of.
Yeah, it frees you up from damage reduction. And that's the thing that's important to know with there is there's visual IED, so what shows in your stat window, and there's functional IED. Because you can already imagine sometimes certain skills have a buff, sometimes a boss can be debuffed. Your stat window doesn't know that before you hit the boss. It's like calculated on hit, right? So if you're in a party with someone who does a lot of IED reduction, even though visually you could be at 90%, if they add 50% of the missing 10, then you're at 90 functional, goes to 90 visual, goes to 95 functional, right? But if you're soloing and you don't have anything else going for you and you're always stuck on 90, then you have to be aware, like, okay, if everything else, is hitting the metrics and the boss fighting is a little bit slow, where could I improve? It's probably going to be IED. And then if you want to improve, you look at where is the lowest opportunity cost, and then you focus on there, basically. So you can always go back to the individual commands.
I was gonna ask as well about familiars. That's something I have zero clue about it, and I've heard that it's kind of important.
Early on there's not much you can do. We've got all of the metrics and all of the advice under the familiar command, and on the bottom is like a list of advice, basically early on, mid game, and later. And then there's some extra resources as well on the potential outcomes, the weight of the lines, which badges you can get to unlock more slots and that kind of stuff. But early on you basically just look for drop rate and IED, and if you don't get it, then you just grind them up for points. Or if you're working on boss mules, also definitely consider, if you have enough IED and drop on your main, try to open them up maybe on boss mules to try to get some IED there as well, because like we just explained, IED super valuable if you're trying to do bosses, and this will take a lot of pressure off of bossing mules to meet certain requirements, and they can start making money faster, funnel it into your main character, get the main character up faster, right?
So 2 bossing mules I could be working on is I have actually a Dell as well, but
these are all very solid. Critical, like Buccaneer has very high critical rate and high IED from itself, so it doesn't need a huge legion to start committing the damage. That's why it's a good bossing mule. Dell has decent IED, has kind of lower on the critical rate, so would benefit a lot as well from getting that Phantom up and getting other critical rate up. You mentioned the Shadower, I think, has decent stats for both as well. Like, for example, like Dual Blade can be very good early on as well. Very high IED in the kit and very high crit rate in the kit as well. Demon Slayer, for example, also. There's a lot of classes.
210 Demon Slayer.
Yep, and very strong 5th job, right? As soon as you get access to the 5th job, you can blow up some stuff.
It's crazy, actually. The 5th job on Demon Slayer is nuts.
You can always try to do like CRA and see how long that takes you, and then kind of think, okay, how much money do I make doing this? Do I like training the same or more? Do I make around the same money, but I also get EXP? That way you can look at like how valuable is my time.
But like my Buccaneer, I think I was able to solo CRA like once or twice, but it like took me so long. Is it even worth for me to like do it? If it like
there's going to be again, you're talking about the opportunity cost of your time, right? How valuable is your time? If I spend my time on the buck, so that's 2-pronged. One is like, what is the raw value, and number 2 is, what do I feel like doing and what is fun for me. Let's say that grinding is more fun, but you're just all grinded out for the day, but you still want to make some more gains, then maybe the slightly lower opportunity cost of spending time on a bossing mule that maybe takes a little bit longer than ideal could still be good value for you, because you're like winding down, you train the whole day, you're like, fuck it, but I still want to play some more, and then it's okay. It's like, oh, I really want to grind, but I haven't done my weekly bosses yet. But the grinding is like the same value or more, then fucking go grinding, right? As long as you don't fully neglect one of your aspects of making your game progress, then you're good, you know? Like, I don't like Legion, then don't do Legion today. But don't not like Legion for like a whole month straight, because then you're probably losing. So unless you're at like 8k or something, right? Then fuck Legion, then do whatever you want. But as long as you're not at 8k, every week you want to do at least a little bit of Legion, like get some level somewhere.
Yeah. Like few levels,
Mm-hmm.
And like right now, I should probably focus on like when it comes to Legion, like just level new characters, whatever.
Yeah, so usually there's like different states that characters are in. So what I would do is, so here's the way you think about it, right? You're going to make 22 more characters, so that means if you just make one new character a day, get it to 70, then in 3 weeks, you'll have like 4k Legion just from that.
Yeah.
If you say that's too much, maybe you make one every other day. Maybe one day you make a new character, get it to 70, and then the other day you look at some characters that are over level 100 but not 140 yet, and maybe like 4 or 5 of them, and then you just kill Zakum and log off, or like kill the arms and log off, something like that. You'll get some free levels there. Yeah, so there's always going to be a few characters at a few stages where you can get some easy gains, and just look for those easiest gains that you feel like doing. You don't feel like doing one, do one that's slightly less, but that still gets you some gains.
I heard like a way to farm legions is like killing all the Zakum arms and then just logging off and doing the same thing.
Yeah, what they changed is that unless you kill the physical body of the boss, it doesn't count as a clear, and you can do it again 30 minutes later. And because the arms give a lot of EXP, some people also do it with Horntail later, and maybe even with Pink Bean. Unless you fully kill the last boss, if you leave one part alive, you can exit and go back again 30 minutes later. But this would be if you're mass doing that on a whole lot of characters for mass levels. If you're really like trying to grind up from 4 to 6k Legion, I would say. Right now, up to 4k is just making all the characters like level 70. And then getting up to 100, and then 4 to 6k is mainly getting all the hundreds to 140, because that way you get level 2 links, and you get the the S rank in the Legion block, right? So they all get a little bit bigger, and then 140s to 200s and 200s to 210s. That's like the 6k to 8k move in Legion.
Yeah, but like right now, I should just like focus on maybe like doing.
What you should focus on is whatever is fun for you. I'm just letting you know where like the biggest gains possible are and how you can possibly do it. But if you don't feel like doing that, then just do whatever you feel like. Because if you're forcing yourself to do something because I said so or because a guide said so, then you risk burning yourself out or like losing fun.
Yeah, that's true. But like right now, I've just like told myself like, let's like try to make these characters like as strong as possible, because like it feels like I played like a bit too long to like not even had a single funded character yet. So
well, and I hope that we talked about like when to spend your money and how far to push it, right? Does that make more sense now?
Yeah, exactly. It makes
because if you're pushing the Star Force on this weapon, like trying to get past 14 like off event, forget about that for now. Work on those accessories, get dropping Meso there, and then your base amount of money that you're making just by playing the game will go up so much. You'll have more options. The idea is you want to, like, if you have $1 million and $1 million gives you 10% to reach what you want, there's like a 90% chance that you fail, right? And if you try, so basically you need 10 mil. So if you have 10 mil, the chance that you fail will be very low. But the chance that if you have 1 million 10 times and you fail all those 10 times, that's like a higher chance. So you want to try to reduce your chance of failure on the next upgrade. And the problem just is like the higher you go, the higher that money threshold is to lower that chance of failure. So you need to give yourself a more solid foundation, which seems like a detour, kind of is, but that's what an investment is, right? Investing in something else so that later on the investment will pay off for itself. And drop rate Mesogear, not 100%, but like 5,000% will pay off its investment, definitely.
Yeah. So I just want to get as much gains as possible right now.
Yeah, but now with the commands, hopefully you know what that means. What does as much possible gain?
Yeah,
like where is your efficiency? Yeah.
I'm gonna take a look at all the commands and shit, and yeah, I'm gonna just try to do whatever, as you said, whatever is fun. But obviously, I think this is the thing I want to do right now, is to get it as strong as possible. And
yep. Well, now you know where the efficiency is and where your possibilities are. So you know what you can weigh. Because without this, like, where do you start?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I guess this, and you just start doing it, and you're like, okay, this isn't working. I'm spending all this money, and I don't feel any gains.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, for me, it was like, I have so much things still on early game or like mid game, where I haven't like pushed myself like fully into mid game. Instead, I push myself into late game. Like, a few stuff.
Yeah, and if you have a few things in late game, if you take that money off, you could have pushed everything else into like
mid game,
mid or even further, and then you would have in total have been stronger with the same amount of money because you're spending it in a different place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you go through the commands and any questions come up, you know, I stream every day, so come on by the chat and ask away, and we'll help you. But now you know where to start looking, so hopefully the commands, you know, explain like 90%, and then the last 10% you can ask, and those will be the best questions as well.
Yeah.
That are not already answered by the other stuff.
100%. All right.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good session.
Okay. Good. I'm glad that you're satisfied. So yeah, don't be a stranger. I'll see you around in the chat.
All right, man. I'll be watching you.
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
Good luck with everything.
Yeah. Thanks for the advice, man.
Yeah. No worries. Bye bye.
Take care, man. See you.
All right. So yeah, hopefully someone else who's in a similar position learned a lot, and you can now know where you can start looking to gauge where you can get some efficient gains in the game. So much you can do, and as a result, also a lot of things you can do wrong. I don't like using that term, but let's say less efficient than other things. Knowing what is efficient should not constrain you to what you have to do, but you'll just be knowing that what you're doing, where it ranks hierarchically, and what you could be doing in terms of making your character as strong as possible. So if you have any additional questions, either leave them in the comments down below, or come down my live stream, Scardor.tv. That's not a thing. Twitch.tv/Scardor. Scardor.tv coming soon to internet browser near you. And yeah, stream there every day, so you can fire away. All of these commands as well are freely available to you guys through my Twitch chat. Just use ! And then connect whatever topic you're looking for with the ! And one of the bots in the chat will reply to you with a whole bunch of information, and will give you one of these. So either it would be a calculator, or it'll be a spreadsheet, or it'll be a text document explaining something. All of these are available. I have about 220 of those, so there's very few topics now that are not already in a command, but there are still some, and people request them with the channel points that they get from watching the stream. So if you feel like there's something that's lacking, you can request that as well. If you like the session, you're interested in having one of these coaching sessions for yourself, check the description of the video, or check !coaching over on Twitch. And I also give away 2 of these sessions for free every month. I will be drawing the winners for last month shortly, so keep an eye on your Discord. If you want to win, include your Discord name and say that you would like to win in a comment to this video, and you could win next month when I draw the winners for April. So yeah, check out what you need, and hopefully you enjoy the video, and I'll see you either live on stream or in the next one. Thanks for watching.